live. Okay, Jonathan. We're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Phys Ed Summit 2.0. This is our Block 2 Elementary School Assessment Roundtable. I hope you got a chance to check out our Block 1 presentations. There are a lot of great presentations, but if you didn't, remember they are always archived on YouTube, and we'll be sending out those links at the end of our session today. You can also check out the links on the conference program if you want to check out a video. My name is Jonathan Jones. I am from Prince George's County, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. And I will be your moderator today for the roundtable. If for some reason the video feed stops or you have an issue viewing the video, the links, again, are always found in the conference program. So just X out and then click on those links again. First and foremost, we would like to thank you, the participants, for taking time to attend the summit. As Amanda said in her keynote, our students matter. And by attending the Phys Ed Summit, you are taking the steps to get better for your students. So we really, really appreciate it, and you are a part of a great online physical education community. We'd also like to thank Spark PE for their sponsorship for the Phys Ed Summit 2.0. Spark is a research-based company who also partners with San Diego State University and are a very strong supporter of online physical education professional development. You can visit Spark's website at sparkpe.org to learn more about Spark PE teacher resources, on-site workshops, and content-matched equipment. Spark has graciously donated the following items to our participants today, as they did in last year's Phys Ed Summit. Participants who enter the raffle, which I'll explain in a minute, will get 1 Spark Dance DVD, 1 digital physical education program, 1 Summer Institute registration, and 1 $150 gift certificate to Spark Store. Here's how you enter. After the summit, we will push out a feedback survey. Those who complete the survey by February 28th will automatically be entered into drawing for the prizes. So again, we will push out that link at the end, and if you have access to our presentation, our PowerPoint, then the link is also in the final slide of our PowerPoint. The purpose of this elementary assessment roundtable is for educators around the world, and yes, we really do mean around the world, to get together and talk about all things elementary assessment. So without further ado, wait, one more thing. If you would like to join the conversation, we have a Today's Meet link. The Today's Meet link is todaysmeet.com/ELEM assessment. Again, that's todaysmeet.com/ELEM assessment. So feel free to ask questions, join the conversation, and also share your successes of assessment in your elementary PE class. So without any further ado, I'm going to kick it to Colin. Colin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Colin Brooks, member of the Phys Ed Summit team. I'm an elementary physical education specialist in Bend, Oregon. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to be on today's meet. I'm going to be on Twitter, be looking at the back channel. So I'll be asking questions and trying to get your questions as a part of our conversation. So thanks for being a part of this. And what we're going to do is we'll just go ahead and start introducing our guests here, our roundtable guests. So how about we start with Andy?
How are we? My name's Andy here. I'm a Leopold Primary School Physical Education Coordinator down here in Australia. Currently I'm sitting here, it's 3:30 a.m. Yeah, very, very excited to be a part of the summit, and just can't believe, watching the work going on with you guys to start with, just how you're able to pull all this together. It's absolutely amazing. This is my 21st year teaching PE, so I'm very, very grateful for what I do, and yeah, just love that connection now worldwide. So thank you very much for having me.
And what a tremendous sacrifice, man. Thanks for. I don't think anyone's making the sacrifice that you are. That's fantastic, and that's one great thing about the Phys Ed Summit is it brings the whole world together, which is fantastic. All right,
Yeah.
who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Patty Costell. I teach elementary in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. This is my 24th year of teaching. I've had the pleasure of being able to teach at all the different levels. Middle school is where I started. Then I did kind of a combined high school and elementary traveling position, and then I've spent probably about the last 13 years at the elementary school that I'm at. So I look forward to just sharing with all of you, and obviously have been on Twitter with quite a few of you, so just very excited to be able to be in this roundtable together.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Patty. We're thankful that you could join us.
Okay, let's go next to Daniel.
My name is Daniel Inman. I'm in my 9th year of teaching down in North Carolina. Elementary school the whole time. Have coached a little bit in middle school. And basically, this idea, the whole Phys Ed Summit's fantastic. Loved the last one and being involved in this one, so thank you.
And
Welcome,
next
Daniel.
up, fair. And next up is Justin.
Hello, Justin Schleider here from Central Jersey. I teach K to 6th grade in a one-school district, so I get to do anything and everything I want. So anything I learn from the Phys Ed Summit, I could go and implement it tomorrow, which is phenomenal. I don't have to convince anybody. I just want to say thanks to Phys-Edagogy for putting this together. I know you guys put in a ton of time. It is not an easy endeavor. And the fact that we have people from all over the world, I mean, Andy waking up at 3:30, this is what collaboration should look like. This is what, as phys ed teachers, this really is the pinnacle of what we can and should be doing all the time. So thank you guys very much for putting this together. I'm tickled pink to be here.
And last up we have Osama.
Maybe we have Osama. He seems to.
Oh, I think he's frozen.
Yeah, he said he's having a little issues, so we'll hit him up when he pops back in.
Cool. So Osama is currently in Dubai, correct?
Yes. Osama is currently in Dubai, and Osama's been teaching for 14 years.
Something to know about Dubai is there's a huge sandstorm going on right now, so that's probably part of the issue. So,
he also he created the Voxer Middle East group, and he's real avid on Twitter. So he's that man. You could get a hold of him as well. Very high profile.
Awesome. All right, Jonathan, ready to get this going?
Yeah, let's get it going. So our first question that we have for our roundtable that we're going to present to our roundtable is, where do you begin when you are creating your assessments? And we're going to start first with Andy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was in a professional development I was leading a couple of days ago, and we spoke about this exact question. We were talking to first-year PE teachers, which was fantastic, trying to put them on the right path. And the feedback that was coming out from them was that they were under the impression that they had to complete all of this assessment in every single lesson, and we just made it clear to them that it's physically impossible to conduct in-depth and lengthy assessments every single time you see kids, and the variety of length of the lesson that people had was between 35-minute classes and 1-hour classes, and sometimes only once a week. So we broke it right down for them, and we put it into this context that what they needed to establish first was obviously their learning intention. And I guess this is a pattern that I follow every week as well. So set it right down, know what I want to teach the kids and what I want them to achieve, and also know the prior learning for the students as well. So my principal has a great analogy that if there's no challenge, there's no change. So we're always moving forward. The Australian curriculum down here, we use that to help guide the intentions, but obviously with the technical wording into it, it's important for us to be able to break that into elaborations and make it clear as to what that curriculum guideline looks like. And then I produce a 10-point scale, so I write up 10 I can statements to be able to then match what I'm seeing. So it makes it really, really clear and simple for us to be able to then provide that feedback straight to the kids. And it gives them a clear goal because they're able to then see where they're at every lesson and ask for that feedback. And it's been a culture that with the kids over the last couple of years that they've been advised that they need to ask all the time, where am I at, how am I doing, what it is that is going to help them improve. And it seems to be winning, yeah, and we're winning the kids. So that's where we start, and then we'll obviously talk a little bit more about the in-depth side of things.
Thank you, Andy. Now it's on to Patty.
Well, here in the United States, we utilize the national PE standards, and in my state, we also look at the Wisconsin state standards. And in my own district, we work on the curriculum, and several of the things that we look at are what are the enduring understandings we want our kids to understand, and what are the essential questions that we should potentially ask to help students. And so those are what help us establish the learning outcomes that I want my students to achieve. Some other questions that I think about is we use a standard-based report card in our district. I'm really glad that we went to that. I can remember the days when we used to grade on effort, and it just drove me nuts. And so I am very happy to be able to report to parents how the students are actually truly doing on their physical literacy skills. And so another consideration for me is what formative and summative assessments can students complete that will share those physical literacy skills across the different standards. How much time do students have to develop the skills and growth? Very much like Andy just said, it's very difficult to get very in-depth assessments every time we see our kids, but what can we do? What will my rubrics look like? You know, what is it that I'm actually looking for in the skills and the assessment that I'm teaching? Do I want my assessment to be teacher-centered, that I'm doing the watching and gauging the rubric accordingly, or are there some assessments that can be student-centered that I can gain some information from? And then the last thing that helps me create assessments is what benefits will my students or I gain from using this assessment. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how I have focused on creating assessments.
Thank you, Patty. And on to Justin.
All right. First, going after Patty, there's really not much left to say. You hit up everything that we really need to talk about. I mean, you talked about the essential questions, enduring understandings, the peer assessments, which is huge because we can't see what we're doing. So when we start getting video in there and we start getting the other children to assess, then suddenly we have outside eyes that aren't really just coming from the teacher, because we know if it's just coming from the teacher, it doesn't sink in and stick as well as we would like with the kids. So for me, what I'm trying to do is, are my standards being met? How do I know that? Are they mastering the standards? That's really what I want to know. So everything else leads up to that for me. And another thing that I want to get into next year is a portfolio. And not to deviate too much from the assessment part, but the standards-based grading, while it's good, my school does that as well. It's a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. The problem is it's overall for the grade. So they could have got 2s across the board and 4s across the board, averages to a 3, and it really doesn't tell the parents as much information as we would want. So in the future, I think assessment should go straight to Sportfolio, and that way we could really see the mastery, and the parents and students and everyone understand and visualize it, and could see the change that's been made. Thank you.
And go ahead, Daniel.
So just to follow Patty and Justin there a little bit, I do the same thing Patty here being in the States. I use NASFE, the national standards, my North Carolina helpful over living state standards. My county being one of the biggest counties in our state, we're still developing our kind of scope, sequence, and exactly what we're looking for. There's about 20 of us involved with that at each level, which is nice. But I mean, basically, I'm looking at what is the big idea I want my kids to know at the end of this unit. And my assessments are based off that. And I use, of course, a variety of methods, just like Patty and Justin have talked about, and everybody else, that I try to build from that. And then I also, I use a lot of teacher assessment, but also a lot of self-assessment and peer assessments, trying to get the students as involved in their learning as I can. Thanks.
And now we're going to go to Osama. I think Osama's with us now. Osama, can you hear us? Osama, I think we have no volume from you.
Yeah, I can't hear him yet either.
Yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties again.
Okay, well, we will work those out. And in the meantime, we're going to go to question number 2. Excuse me, Patty?
I was just going to share that maybe we could share Osama's information.
That's true. Colleen,
So,
you're right.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what Osama does, it's on his slides, but what he does when he is thinking about where to begin with his assessments, he says that he has 3 main types of assessments that he uses. Of course, he does a pre-assessment, which is in the beginning. He checks, where his students are, whether they're, high, low, at what level do they already understand the concept, the topic, the skill that he's teaching. And then the second type of assessment he uses is a formative assessment. And this is to make sure the students are achieving the lesson objectives. And so the formative assessments would be used on a class-to-class basis to always check to see if his students are getting his lesson objectives or getting his learning targets. And then the last one that he uses is the summative assessments. And these are the final assessments to evaluate the student's progress and understanding of all the unit's objectives. And so this would be also shared with them on a rubric, so not only do you know that what you're looking for in the students, but the students also understand what does the high level look like and where they are aiming to get by the end of the unit. And so those are the 3 types of assessments that Osama uses: pre-assessments, formative assessments, and also summative assessments.
Yeah, I think the formative assessments are huge, because if the children aren't mastering the skill, we have to go back and reteach that. If we don't find out till the summative assessment what's going on, then it's already too late. The unit's over. So that's why today's roundtable is really going to help us, and it's helped my teaching, and I'm only halfway where I want to be and should be, to be honest. But it's going to allow us to find out where are the students right now. Do we have to reteach it? Can we blow right by it? Do they already know it? Why are we wasting our time teaching if they already have mastered it? And then if not, like I said, it just tells us where we are. So that's why I'm really excited to learn about the different assessments everyone's using today.
Yeah, and the formative assessments are a lot of times the most challenging to do in your class because I know that a lot of people have very limited time in their lessons. So in order to fit a formative assessment in and to have it authentic and definitely give you the data and the information you need, it definitely takes planning and practice to do. So with this roundtable, hopefully we get some really really great ones, and so that everyone can incorporate that into their teaching. So we're going to go ahead and go on to question number 2, which is what types of assessments do you use? And in this section, we'll also have teachers in the roundtable actually providing and link a copy of their assessment, and these will also be accessible at the end of our roundtable through our conference program and our resource document. So we're going to start with Andy. What types of assessments do you use, Andy?
Awesome. I guess following on from that last question, it sort of merges really nicely together. But it's trying to create as many sets of eyes as you possibly can to be able to view and give feedback on that one single activity that the children are doing that they've deemed that they're improving, that they need improvement on it. And a great example of this is at the moment I'm in my athletics unit, and I have such a vast difference of ability, and I've got kids that are doing athletics for the first time in a year since our athletics last year, and I've got other kids that are about to go to national championships. So the great thing that I try and do is I try and create a pattern of leadership where the students themselves will actually become role models and coaches for each other, and it really helps me out. And because we have that clear focus across the board as to what we're actually specifically looking at on that very one day with that activity, it makes coaching and learning and teaching and assessing so much easier. I use iDocio as my main capture of information, and I use this all the time. My iPad's with me all the time, and it bleeds in, and you can see there on that iDocio on the screen at the moment. This is my athletics unit. I have my 4 weekly tasks in this athletics unit and the skills that are involved in each that I'm looking for at that appropriate age group. So if we're doing shot put, I dissect shot put right down to the point where I'm trying to improve that one skill for that year level, rather than trying to assess that whole skill. And again, it's making things simple for me, but really simple for the kids so they can show that skill, and that's the whole key to it. With the different styles of assessment, what it all pulls into for me is we have a dynamic assessment program called StudyTurf that is our main assessment document that we send back to the parents, and we actually formally assess and write comments for kids once a term. So that equates to over 550 kids I see each week. So it becomes a massive task, but through what I'll show you, I guess in question 3, you'll actually start to really gain a picture of where it all sort of flows and the steps that are involved in it. One of the apps that I showed there, I've got to show you, I think you can dance, use of Google Forms. Again, making it easy for me to try and grab what the kids are actually learning and what they actually know and what they've pulled from that lesson in a real simple survey. Google Forms is certainly something I use all the time, and the picture down the bottom there with video delay app Um, that again is just showing an example of where the kids were doing long jump last week, and they were using the app and having discussions straight after they've jumped. So their information is live. So yeah, right back to the opening statement, creating as many eyes as possible and feeding that back in, and then being able to capture just a simple little task allows for easy assessment.
Nice. Hey, Andy, I've got a question for you
Yeah.
from today's meet. So, replanning a unit is important, but what happens as students divert from your plans during inquiry? So, I mean, you can answer this, and anyone else that wants to chime in as well.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, yeah, you do have a plan, but with PE, it's all about kids trying to find their own direction and their own pathway at the same time. So where kids start finding that they've already mastered a skill and wanting to move on to that next skill, that's all part of teaching it and just having to adapt towards that. And certainly when marking and coming down to that element of it, it's just changing the parameters and the dimensions for those students and really pushing them to the level. And I mean, obviously on my document there, those kids that are green, they are kids that are excelling already. So we're changing their goals and moving them on multi-skilling what they are looking at and really pushing them to that next level. So creating that journey and promoting kids to be able to create a pathway for them which they deem is at the level that they're achieving at, and trying to make sure that that improvement is always on the up. Yeah.
Thanks for your answer, Rod.
Go ahead, Patty.
All right. I think probably the biggest evolution in my assessment formation in the last couple years has been video analysis assessment. I first got one iPad from my PTO to use, and I was ecstatic to be able to have one. I knew I didn't have enough of them, but just starting with one gave me the ability to videotape my students, and any of the video analysis programs such as Coach My Video, Coach's Eye, UberSense, any of those that you can actually slow their form down and be able to show students what they look like really has made a big difference for me. But taking it a next step further is obviously having students share it with each other, and I was able to go back to my PTO and my Cedarburg Education Foundation and get a few more iPads for my classroom because I was able to show them before and after shots of what my students actually had improved on. And so getting the iPads into my students' hands to share with the other students has evolved their learning even more, because if they understand what the student they're videotaping is doing wrong, they can help them, and it in turn also helps their form. And so that's the other thing. I have a link here to a project that I did with a classroom teacher, which is not an easy assessment to give. It's something that takes time, and I'm going to see if I can share it. Are you seeing my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're just seeing you right now, Patty.
I know. You know what? I just, when you go, I'm not going to be able to show it. I'm not finding it on my screen. But there is a video shooting analysis project that I did with my students. And what I did is have the students videotape each other at the beginning of the unit on a basketball free throw shot. And obviously one of the things I really wanted them to understand was how to do a follow through. And so did all the teaching things that I needed to do afterwards to be able to share it and make progress on it. And then this next part of what they did was they shared they videotaped each other towards the end of the unit and had a project to do with Explain Everything. If you haven't ever used Explain Everything, it's an iPad app that you can post videos. And so they did a before video and an after video, and they were able to, then they had to use this rubric to explain what happened in the first video, what kind of things needed to be improved, and then they had to share what had improved. And so there was a rubric that I had, and so it was a bit of an extensive assessment, and I'm sharing it with you as something that was worth it to me to take a little bit more time with them to make it more basic and a little bit easier for you to accomplish that kind of an assessment. You could do something very easy in your classroom that if you have some iPads, just leave the videos on the iPad and have the before and afters on there. The students don't necessarily have to put them on and explain everything, but they could do some kind of a either writing assignment or something that just quickly gives you an idea. Do they understand what the cues were for the skill? It could be basketball, it could be, you know, foot coordination, it could be throwing skills, it could be jump rope, it could be anything that you just want to give them a chance to show that they truly know what those learning cues are. So that was one example, and it's definitely different than a skill assessment because I was looking for the cognitive part as well. So it showed me a lot of different things. Because I only had 4 iPads, they actually had to do it as a group assignment. So they picked one student's pictures, and then they had to do it together. And so that was kind of another cool part that I got. And just integrating it with a classroom teacher was just one extra step. So is it something that I can do all the time? No. But I can tell you that those students that I have this year, when we went to our basketball unit and we're working on eye-hand coordination, they remember that, and it has really stuck with them, and their form has stuck with them. So there were major bonuses with that. And just very quickly, other kinds of assessments, a lot of peer assessments. I use Google Forms when I can. My 5th graders have Chromebooks as of this past year, and so if there's something that I want them to do as a cognitive assessment, I will have them bring their Chromebooks down to the classroom, do the survey, and then we move on with our activities. Exit slips, just basic written assessments. Obviously, with the younger kids, sometimes that's a little bit easier. And then just basic thumbs up, thumbs down, quick check-in type of things. So those are the kind of assessments I give.
Awesome, Patty. We were able to share your information on today's meet, and also on Jonathan's screen we showed your basketball video analysis.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, Justin.
All right. First, Explain Everything, Patty. Awesome app. Nicholas Enlick and Adam Laveau and I got together and made up So You Think You Are Fit, where we have kids. When the kids come in my phys ed class, they do 30 seconds of exercise where partner A goes. Partner B gives the feedback, because Andy talked about the eyes in the class. Instead of me being the only pair of eyes, now if we split the class in half, every other kid is a pair of eyes assessing each other. So Nick took those videos I made of my kids doing their exercises. He used the Explain Everything app for his students to demonstrate how to do the moves in proper form. So it's a really cool project that I will put the link out on Twitter and everything with. So that's a really cool app. For me, for assessment, this was my weakest area, and still is my weakest area of teaching, even though I've spent a lot of time trying to strengthen it. Because in general, we want to teach the kids, we want to have the kids work, but really keeping data on the kids is not a strong suit of most phys ed teachers. So when I got evaluated a couple years ago, my supervisor said your assessments were weak. So after I was mad, then I realized he had a valid point. I have to go look up how to do this. Naomi Hartle showed me some really cool stuff with the Google Forms that got my mind blown. And then I started trying to figure out some stuff on my own. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And Colin, tell me if this falls into tunnel vision or anything like that, and we can I could stop and go from there. But the really cool thing about the Google Forms, and I know the iPad Phys Ed Summit showed you how to make a Google form. Mine's going to be a little twist on his, so it's not going to be as boring. So if you saw it, hopefully you'll learn something. So we went to know, you go to the Google form, and And this is making a checklist. All it is really a checklist, but the fact is now you could have it on your iPad and walk around with it, or your laptop, and you don't have to have paper and pencil anymore. And it's a little cooler than that, so I'll show you. The first thing you want to do is write objective. Can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So the first one you're going to do is objective, and you're going to leave it as a text. So every time you fill out the form, you could write a new objective on there. So it's the same template every time. You don't have to have 40 different websites that you're going to. It's the same Google form every single time. And this is where Google really blew my mind. I leave this blank and I change it from multiple choice to grid. And everybody goes, oh, I don't want to take a lot of time to make my assessments. What's cool about Google is they took, if you have a list, and I'll show you the file right here, of your class list in a spreadsheet somewhere. All right. If you have the whole spreadsheet already, I don't know why it's taking so long. You could take your whole sheet and you could put it in at one time, in one block, and it automatically does it for you. So let me see if I could find the list of names. Here it is. So I took the list of states, and I just took all the names. So there's 50 obviously here, and your classes hopefully are less than 50. So when I did this, and you go to the Google form here, I took all 50 states, and watch this. With the click of a button, it did it itself. Do you see how easy that is?
Well.
And that would be every student's name in there. And that's how quick it's set up. So when you look and you go, okay, and then for me, since I'm standards based, I'm going to do a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. And when you look at the live form, and that took me, what, a minute, if that? Look at my live form that pops up.
Ah.
Can you guys see all that? So the objective,
Very cool.
if I wrote my objective, it would be to become physically, and obviously I'm just making one up. Or this is for Amanda right there, to become physically literate. All right. So you go down, and I would fill this out. So how did they do in my class? I'm walking around, and with Google, there's a billion different things you could twist off of this. You could run Autocrat, you could run Choice Eliminator. I mean, there's 4 billion things to do that I'm not going to go over right now. But I would go, I would rate them, submit it, and then right away, in the great part of Google is that when you go to our responses, you could see automatically it comes right up on here. So I would have the objectives written down, and this was one I did the other day. So my objective would be written down, and it shows up. Let me see real quick if I can get the right one. Here it is. Responses, few responses. It automatically creates a Google Sheet for you, so you don't have to do anything. Here's the objective. And it's a little slow because I'm sharing my screen. But you see, to become physically literate, it's right here. And I can widen it, and then all the responses go across. Now, if you don't like how it goes across, there are ways to change that as well. I'm not going to bore you with that. But there's ways to change this to go to a doc and do all kinds of stuff. And what's really cool that Nick Endlick told me about last night is I could take every objective that came and all this, and I could average out my scores for the kids by putting in a simple formula. And I'll just type the formula for you to know it. And then if anyone wants in the future, get a hold of me and we could do it ourselves. But it's just equal, average, and then you just do parentheses. You go to your first cell that you want, which would be up here. And then we do colon to the last cell we want, which might be here. And then we would go from there. And it's an error because I haven't filled out anything. But it will average all the things out. And you could color code it. So it would look just like this over here. So do you see how it's green, 4.0? If it was under a 4, it would be red or blue or yellow, whatever colors. And you could have each number a different color. And you could also go up here, and I can round it so it goes from 0.0 to the whole numbers. So I could just do a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1 on the average. So I don't want to take up too much time from the summit. I know we have a lot to do. But that is one way to really, really quickly create your Google form, have every class do it. I created 14 classes in less than a half hour. I mean, so I could do that all the time. Uh, that's my one. Padlet is another one. My school's 1-to-1 for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So they bring Chromebooks. Adam Levo told me about Padlet. Really cool gray screen. I mean, I could also share it if you want, but basically they click on the back of the gray screen, type their name, and then answer whatever question you want. And I send out the questions through Google Classroom. So I don't want to take over everything for hours because I know with tech we could talk forever and ever. But that's just a couple simple, quick tips we can use. So thanks for bearing with me, guys.
That's awesome. All right, Daniel.
Hard act to follow there, Justin. I use a lot of the same things they've talked about. I use a lot of Google Docs. I have access to 5 iPads within my classroom, and I can share my screen or Jonathan can show it either way. But basically, I do a lot of student self-assessments and peer assessments. So one kid will be holding the iPad, and the other kid will be doing the skill for, in this case, a jump rope self-assessment. And I have a partner assessment the same way. They do their name, the classroom teacher. I may have to take Justin's thing into consideration to make it easier for me there. But basically, I have the kids kind of grade themselves, and it's like set up as a station, which Patty taught me that a couple years ago. I don't know if she realizes it. But
Thanks.
it's an easy way for me to do assessments, and the kids really want to do the iPads, which always cracks me up. So they'll work on a skill for a little while, go over there and check it out and see what's listed. And I have a list of the skills next to where I put the iPads at, so the kids can look and say, yeah, I can do that, or I need to work on that. And my grading scale is a 4-point scale just based on my county. So most of my rubrics and most of the things I do are 4-point scales. So, and it just kind of correlates easily for me, lets me average out things pretty easily. I do like I said, I use a fair amount of technology. I've started playing with Plickers a little bit. I don't have anything to show for that. I'm just starting.
Nice. Adam Levo, his blog talks all about Plickers. I mean, when we talk about multiple assessments super quick, Plickers are awesome, Dan.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So, because what I've been doing, and Plickers should make it easier, is I do a thumbs up, thumbs down, and I take a picture. And I can always scan that picture later and look at it and say, you know, this kid got it, this kid didn't. So Plickers hopefully will make that a little bit easier. I don't have to count and do all that stuff. So that's the idea. So I do a lot of written, verbal, show of hands, all of that. So, and it's constant. And then in my classroom too, this is a simple assessment for my K2s, is I've got a green light, a red light, and a yellow light. And it's, you know, green meaning I've got it, I can show it to other kids. Yellow means I'm working on it, I'm good. Red means I need help. And so I've taught something like that to my younger kids. And they, you know, I've got older kids that will sometimes still go to the signs, which cracks me up. But so it's a variety of things, and I want the kids to know that they're constantly being looked at, but they're not being judged. So, and that's one thing I tell the kids. I'm not saying you're better or worse than anybody. It's, are you improving? And that's the key thing for me.
Yeah, big time.
Nice. Hey, quick question as I intervene here. So I've got a teacher that is from that's teaching in China currently, and this is a really good question. Besides Google Forms, what do you guys recommend? Because Google is blocked in China, and just in general, what else? What other programs would you? Okay, Socrates. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Any others from anybody else?
I'm not sure if you can hear me, guys. Back. I would suggest Edmodo.
Nice.
Edmodo.
Yeah. Osama's a big Edmodo guy.
So I used to use, and I still use a little bit, I think it's the assessment app with Jared Robinson. So I use that a bit too on the side. Google Forms is just a little bit easier for me to use because of the base at school that I have with Google. So cool.
You know, and I reckon. Sorry if I chime in. The one of the biggest rookie mistakes is knowing where to start. And there's so many. So it's trying to just find one as a launching point and see if it works for you instantly. And if it doesn't, then certainly swap. It's like choosing a pair of shoes sometimes. There's so many brands out there. You just got to find the perfect fit for yourself.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but yeah, you kind of find the best fit for yourself.
Definitely. Okay, Osama, go ahead with your types of assessments.
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yay!
Got you.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yay!
so nice. Okay, let's go. We'll talk about the types of assessment. Yeah, am I on the
Yes.
right page? Okay, good.
Correct.
So using different types of assessment, as Jonathan was kindly talking about the things I wrote in the slide. Uh, so I'll talk about a few things I'm using in the class. This is kind of solo taxonomy, as you guys mentioned. So this is the one I think Adam was talking about. Oh, wait, let me share the screen. I think I didn't share the screen. Wait a second. Okay, good. So let's go to this one. Okay, can you see this, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the solo taxonomy. I got this even from Adam. It's really good, but it's kind of complicated because we're teaching elementary school. So I was trying to look for something more simple. So I've been using this one. It's called the learning journey. Make it very simple and easy. Even break it down to maybe 3 main ones. Is that in the beginning of the lesson or the unit even, it's like a kind of pre-assessment and formative assessment. For example, in this lesson, we talk about striking and fielding, and I put this one, and I talk to the kids about, okay, what do you know about striking and fielding? Do you know what is it? Okay, and in this part is that the kids have to name 3 striking and fielding games, and the advanced kids will explain and maybe even more uh, talk more about how to be successful in a track fielding game. So this is formative and pre-assessment. One of the other things I use, can you see this, guys? This the YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, as Justin said, I'm a big fan of Edmodo. So in Edmodo, it's my way to communicate with even with grade 3, 4s, and 5s. Do different types of assessment, same like Google Form. And the good thing is about it, even do all the grading for you as well. For example, this unit was all based about teaching games for understanding, and all the grades been given for the kids' understanding, not on their skills. So as we see here in Edmodo, I introduced even the coming units, and the kids, even their assessment, I'm a big fan of using Capture as the upload to YouTube. And for example, this one, and I put that for the kids. The good thing about YouTube, this is unlisted, so nobody can see this one, only the kids themselves and the parents, or anyone I share the link with. The good thing is that you can see this with the kids, and there's a good thing about YouTube as well. You don't have to save anything in your device,
Yeah.
and here also you can play in a slow speed. If you're gonna go back to this one, is that look at the kids' technique, and the kids even themselves do self-assessment, peer assessment, and I use it also as part of my formative assessment. All my units, it takes few seconds only to record this. The whole assessment for this class was about 30 seconds. This is also part of the written assessment. I got this from Andy Vasley. It's really good. Especially when teaching an IP school, where I don't look really more about skills, it's more about the kids, about inquiry and concepts. And this is kind of assessment where the kids have to even work on a teams and express themselves and extend their learning and talk about how did they understand the unit. Again, but I think we're going to mention this later on the rubric about that. So I think that's it. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Yep.
I'm still
Awesome.
live? Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good. You're
Thanks for
good.
sharing, man. Good job. All right, Justin. Or Jonathan, go ahead, bud.
Okay, so our third question that we have for our roundtable is, how often do you formally assess your students? And we're going to start with Andy with that question.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, we're on a platform called StudyTurf, and down here in Australia, what we're finding is that a lot of schools are now not so much outsourcing the way they report back to the parents, but using it more in a dynamic way. And so with our StudyTurf, what we're required to do is formally assess it and give information back to the parents once per term now, which does create a little bit more work, but what it does for the student's perspective is it really starts to close that circle, and it really then loops the parents into that assessment at that point in time, rather than having to wait a semester, which is a long time in the journey of a kid. So it's been really effective. And what on my slide there, I've actually created a little chart just to be able to, I guess, encapsulate what I view as my assessment and the cycle of it. So we're looking certainly at the kids' performance, and followed by assessment, and that assessment can go on and on and on. And let's be honest, not every session you can get to assessment. You try and do as much as you possibly can, but our primary role there is to instruct and inspire and sort of build goals for kids to move on to. But you know, when you do get to assessment, you can then start to really close this circle down. So performance assessment and then reporting on those tasks. Each term I have 2 tasks set up for the kids, and those tasks seem to be sequential, so they're building on those skills that the kids are learning from task 1, and then once we go with the reporting, then we're back to performance and setting new goals and new outcomes for the kids and really focusing them in on their learning. So, you know, for the kids at Leopold Primary School, they've gone from thinking, okay, let's go and play some games at physical education, to now let's go and break this this down, and they know that the skills that it takes for them to get to that next level. And one of the great things that we've just done at school, and it'll blow your mind, our school council built a BMX track with tabletops and high burns and all that to promote cycling in the area. And so cycling is now one of the things I bring into PE, and it's really cool because a lot of the kids are actually at base level with their cycling. So being able to teach them how to ride, you can see improvement all the time, and that formal assessment program, study turf, we can really bring all of that in, and being able to get the kids to set goals and see them respond on study turf as well it's really amazing. And we can, with all the videos and that like Osama was showing, all of that can be uploaded, so the kids are coming with their one-to-one devices, they're capturing their own learning, they're sharing it up to the study turf site, they're feeding in, I'm feeding in, parents are feeding in, and it paints a magnificent picture of where the kids are at. It's brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
Let's go.
That's great. Hey, Patty?
Well, I would agree with what Andy said. You know, most days we try to get some kind of assessment done, whether it's based on their physical skills, their cognitive understanding, or maybe how they're working together. You know, their affective skills, their sportsmanship skills, cooperation, teamwork, all those things. One thing I can say is that is my goal. Justin mentioned it way at the beginning of our little presentation, that the formative assessment is huge in guiding what we're teaching. And so I have had some formative assessments where I go back and reteach a skill just to a small group of students who didn't understand it, but I give another extension activity to those kids that already understand it. And if you wait until you do your summative assessment, you've lost out on a huge teaching tool to help your students and to guide your teaching. So obviously pre-assessments, formative assessment, summative, those are my goals. It's interesting because next year our schedule is going to be changing, and while we're going to gain minutes with our students, we might have fewer classes at times, and so it's really making me have to think about, I can for sure get the pre-assessment in, but I don't want to wait till the summative assessment to learn. But if my units are shortened, how much assessment can I do? Because the students actually need time to learn. They need time to practice. They need time to actually make that growth. And so It may require that we go back to our curriculum and restructure what we teach, and maybe teach fewer units, but go a little bit more in depth with concepts, or skip certain units on a year and kind of revisit it. So we do Fitnessgram twice a year and share that information with our students, and we do a goal setting sheet with our 3rd through 5th graders, and that Fitnessgram was a huge part of that. And I heard Andy kind of talking a little bit about that, is having students strive for something. So they pick an area of their Fitnessgram that they may or may not have been in the healthy fitness zone, but at least are trying to make an improvement on that area, and we use that goal setting form to help us. So that's one area that I can say that's kind of used all year long, but our units are so quick and short that you just really have to, I think the final thing that I would like to say is when we use our standards-based grading, we try to make sure in our district that we have an assessment that covers each of those standards at some point in time, so that I'm getting a snapshot of their whole physical literacy, and not just their skill development.
Exactly.
Yep.
Good
Thank you,
point.
Patty. Now, so on to Daniel. How do you how often do you formally assess your students?
I mean, like, I'm constantly assessing just through checking for understanding, asking kids, do you understand this? Where are you at on the light that I use? Things like that. I tried to do some type of assessment at least every week. I see the kids twice a week. So it's constantly gauging where they're at, what I need to teach them, because some classes are ahead of other classes are behind, especially with the snow days we've been having lately here in North Carolina. But basically, I'm still working on the best way to do it. Always working on that. I have a log book of where each kid is and what level they're at on the different skills, and that includes physical skills, the sportsmanship, like Patty was talking about, the working together, because I still have some 4th and 5th graders that really don't do well with others, or only certain others. So it's a constant process, I think. So I use both formative and summatives. And it's constant, and it's just ingrained in, I think, how I teach. That's what I do with it, at least.
Justin, how often do you formally assess your students?
I formally assess every lesson. I mean, we should be assessing every lesson in some way, shape, or form. And I know formally and informally are kind of the terms we're talking about in the other link, but I try to get hard data from every lesson. That's really what my administration wants. And for me, even if I miss every lesson, I'm still hitting most of the lessons, which is a huge jump from where I was. And it really has changed my teaching, because now I can drive my instruction to where my students are at, instead of kind of what I was thinking might not have matched up for what they were doing. So now I really have the evidence that shows there. Real quick, I know we're showing a lot of stuff. If we're on Twitter and Voxer, all this stuff that we're showing has already been created. Everyone is willing to share their things for free. So make sure, if you're watching this, get connected on Twitter, get connected on Voxer. I will meet you one-on-one. Naomi took me under her wing when I was just starting out, and it's time for me to pay it forward to everyone else. So get connected, and we will sit here and go and really help everybody out. I will give you everything I have. Osama talked about Solo. Adam has a whole blog on Solo. He has a whole resource on Solo. On Voxer, we have a shared lesson plans with, 60 phys ed teachers that are awesome, and all their plans and their assessments. So really just get on Twitter and Voxer so you can get them. You don't have to create from scratch. Modify what we have and make it your own. So like I said, for my assessments, that's what I do. I just want to show really quick, and it's not going to take any time at all, is going to be the Padlet, which is one of my favorite assessments that Adam showed at the end. And this is what it looks like at the end. Everybody can see everyone else's. But right here, we were talking about angles, and I put out the question, hey, what did we learn about angles today, or why do we need, I think it was more of why do we need to use angles when we're creating offensive opportunities.
Hey, Justin, we're unable to see your screening, so maybe you can give us a description.
You are screen sharing.
We can't see it. We can share your, we can
no
share
worries. Yeah. So basically all it is it's a gray background where every kid, it's kind of like a Facebook page where you could post on a wall. That's exactly, if I could describe it, that's what it is. And the kids all do it at the same time, and it takes me less than 5 minutes to do my whole class. They get out the Chromebooks, boom, send out the link in Classroom, click on it, and then they go. So the whole class is able to be assessed in less than 5 minutes. And that's what we want. If it can't be 1-to-1, then try to do 1-to-2, try to figure out some way that you're not doing all the assessment. We could put it into the students' hands, which is really where it should be, because then they're taking ownership of their learning, and it's really sinking in of what they're doing, because they have to think and then they have to spit it back out to you in a way that makes sense to them. So thank you very much.
And then Osama, how often do you formally assess your students?
Yeah, as other one said, guys, I think we do, all of us. I think assist every day, every lesson. We assist to make sure that kids are on the line and they are achieving the class objectives. And with things like solo or the learning journey, you have that on the whiteboard and on the wall. Is that will help you, and you will not forget about, okay, you know what, I forgot to ask the kids, is it okay, do you understand what's going on, and they achieve the points. Of course, all of us also use, I think, thumbs up, thumbs down. Having a traffic light also in the class in the end of the lesson, that's a way also to get the feedback from the kids in the way out. Okay, just hit with your hand in one of the traffic lights, red, yellow, amber. So that's it.
Awesome.
Great. Okay, well, our time has come to an end. I would like to thank you for checking out our elementary schools roundtable. I'd also like to thank Andy Hare, coming all the way from Australia. Andy, you need to get some sleep after this. Daniel Inman, Justin Schletter, Osama Abujafor, Patty Cassell, and moderators Colin Brooks and Jonathan Jones. We thank you very much for joining us. Remember, in order for you to be entered into our Spark drawing, please visit the link that is on the screen. It is also in the official Phys Ed Summit conference program. And you fill out the feedback survey, and then you will automatically be entered in the Spark drawing for the 4 prizes. So again, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Jonathan, Colin, Phys thanks for putting this together, guys. You're doing what our national organization in America should be doing, to be honest. So you guys are absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for putting all this together. I mean, it's so much effort that you guys do for free, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Agreed.
All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you later.